On the heels of the fighters came American engineer reconnaissance parties, hacking out a track with knives and axes, working out gradients as they went along. Behind, the first bulldozer shoving its way forward wherever it could get, scraping out the combat road for immediate supplies. Last, the builders. Chinese, Shans, Kachins, Indians, Nepalese, Nagas, men, women and children, toiling in the dust under the blazing sun, beneath monsoon skies in wind and rain. Cloudbursts would wash away great stretches of the new and hard-won road. Landslides would sweep bulldozers hundreds of feet down mountain sides. Of the Americans, up to 80% went down with malaria. As one said, you don't have to be insane on this job, but it helps. Stilwell advanced about a mile a day. The road followed him like the track of some gigantic snail.
To support General Stilwell's drive down the Hukong Valley, it had been decided at Quebec to invade central Burma from the air. Strongholds would be established in the heart of enemy territory from which columns could attack Japanese arteries of supply, in particular, the Michina-Mandalay Railway. General Ord Wingate, with his expedition of 1943, had already demonstrated the possibility of such an audacious plan. He was now to lead 10,000 of his specially trained Chindits with a diversity of equipment which included 1,000 pack mules, 25-pounder guns and bulldozers on the most daring airborne operation of the war. The spearhead of the invasion was to be carried by American gliders under Colonel Phil Cochrane. There could be no fighter escort. Some hundreds of miles away in the jungle, across a mountain barrier 8,000 feet high, natural clearings earmarked by Wingate in 1943 had been selected for the landings. And there, this force, in Wingate's words, was to be inserted into the guts of the enemy. All depended on surprise. No man knew what awaited him. Of the 67 gliders that flew, only 32 got to the clearing known as Broadway. Speed was everything. Broadway was to become an airfield and fortress. In the next few hours, it was to be ready for the transports carrying the main force. American engineers saw that it was ready. A Chindit column moved off to its objective, the railway. 3 weeks after the landings at Broadway, in the moment of his greatest triumph, Wingate was killed. The man who used to carry an alarm clock, which rang periodically to remind those with whom he worked that time was passing, had himself passed beyond the threat of time. But the inspiration of his leadership remained. For 3 out of 5 months, the Chindits blocked the railway to Myitkyina and fought off all attempts of Japanese reinforcement. One column marched overland from Lido and covered over 600 miles. The strongholds established, to which they gave such cheerful names as Blackpool and White City, became the scenes for battles of unrelenting savagery. Once, in the face of murderous machine gun and rifle fire, troops scaled a gradient of 1 in 2 and held the crest. No prisoners were taken. Never once throughout did Cochrane's air commandos fail with the support or the transports with supplies. Wingate had signaled his Chindits a day before his death. One day you will be proud to say, I was there. Casualties were heavy. Malaria, jaundice, dysentery, scrub typhus, and jungle sores took their toll as well as the enemy. Far away in occupied country, they could only be taken back by plane, taking off from jungle clearings. Evacuation by air was the supreme service which Admiral Mountbatten secured for his command.
The campaign on the northern front was moving to its climax. To Stilwell's columns, closing on Myitkyina, was now added the strength of a Chinese expeditionary force pushing westwards from Yunnan. The strength of China was not to be denied. For 13 long years she had had, for the most part, only small arms and courage with which to oppose the Japanese onslaught. Now, through the tears of her present suffering, it was at last possible to discern the pattern of future victory.